Here's another one called compacting. Compacting is a great tool. It's a great strategy. Used more so for children who have advanced educational needs. And compacting implies or has the implication that, hey, if I get 75 to 80 to 90% on my pre-test before even being instructed, my assumption is, why should I do that? So you need to do a pre-test if you're going to do compacting of your curriculum. And if your student gets it, especially your gifted ed student, you need to rethink the unit and not teach it, but instead provide what? Enrichment opportunities, and provide any other advanced opportunities for your gifted student, but do not ever let them do the same activity. So that is an important facet about compacting, and it's used more so for our gifted students. Does everybody understand what compacting is? You can articulate it, you can envision what I'm talking about. The rule is it is a pretest, and if you give this, and if a student scores between 75 to 100%, they really should not be doing the work, because you're wasting their time and they're going to be absolutely bored out of their minds. And it's the only fair thing. But what do we normally do? We normally say, oh, okay, when you get done with this work, I want you to go help Pam on the side with her work. Now, that child also deserves equal access to the general curriculum. That child also deserves a quality education, okay, just as every other student. So teacher needs to go an extra mile here, providing those enrichment activities. Now, if you don't know how to do enrichment, you have gifted education teachers on staff probably. There are people who are itinerant that will come to your school and provide you with those services, and that can be done through consultation. Number 6, this is another great piece, and I'm going to integrate 6 and 10, strategy number 6 and 10 together to give you an idea. Choice boards is an excellent way of helping students and to be in an inclusive environment. Here's how a choice board works. It is a board. You have 3 to 4, maybe 5, 6, 7 choice boards, depending on what your curriculum is or what your content is. On each one of those choice boards, you create opportunities to have students have activities. For example, write poetry, write a play, spell the first 5 words on page 6, write a letter to a friend. There's several activities, but it's all thematically based on your objective and goal. So you give a variety of choices on your choice board. Now, here's what I would suggest that you do, okay? If you go to the last page on your strategy, and we're going to do strategy 6 and 10 together, go to number 10. This is a strategy talking about multiple intelligences. Strategy number 10. Differentiated instruction loves the infusion of Howard Gardner's 8 multiple intelligences. Here's an opportunity to have actually 8 choice boards. Can you imagine this? 8 choice boards. Each choice board, the first board will be linguistic. Second choice board, logical, mathematical. Third, visual, spatial. Fourth, musical, rhythmic. Fifth, bodily, kinesthetic. Sixth, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and the naturalist. Imagine your classroom with 8 choice boards that have these multiple intelligence. Now, your next task is to go to each choice board and put linguistic activities on the linguistic board. You go onto the mathematical board, you put on mathematical activities. You go to your visual, spatial, and so on, and so on, and so on. And then you get your students to go to a marketplace and shop. How many feel like shopping? Kids love shopping too, but now they're going to be shopping for their tasks. And they're going to pull off, and you create an opportunity for them by telling them, I want you to choose 2 from number 1, logical, mathematical. I want you to choose 1 from interpersonal. I want you to choose 3 from musical. And I just made that up. And the rest you self-select, 2 or more. Can you see that? And you have students going in there and shopping and picking up all of this. But remember, we're not distracted from our objective and our goal. If we are still thinking about ancient Rome or the Greek gods, we still focus on there. But we are using the 8 choice boards and calling it these names, so we have the infusion of multiple intelligences in your classroom. Do you like that idea? Yeah, and then you just build that on. Students just go and shop and get it. That's pretty cool. Let's go back to number 7 in your handout. And what was number 7, Andy? Shout that out loud.
Portfolios.
Oh, yes, portfolios. It sort of works seamlessly with differentiated instruction. Instead of giving this time test and giving these tests, multiple choice, true and false, what if you have products that students create that are authentic, that they put into portfolios? We call them relevant products, authentic products, and they create what's called a course portfolio, and then they get graded on a rubric that you create. What does that do? It takes off that pressure from the student. So if you're not doing portfolios in differentiated instruction, it's time you need to rethink that. Okay? You could have pictures, you could have all kinds of neat stuff on the computer, internet, web-based activities, and you can go with it in all different directions. But portfolios is a must. It's one of the best strategies that I've come across as an assessment tool to guide your instruction. Number 8 is conceptual teaching. Students with learning difficulties have a difficulty understanding science concepts, math concepts, and I'm going to share with you what conceptual teaching is. And I'm going to share with you a nonsense word. This is called glib, G-L-I-B. You won't find that in the Oxford Dictionary. I made that up. Okay, but I'm going to teach you a concept. I'm going to teach you one of the most effective methods in using to actually reach and teach students with significant difficulties. It's called conceptual teaching. This is glib. I want you to follow. This is not glib. This is not glib. This is glib. This is not glib. This is glib, G-L-I-B. This is not glib. This is glib. I've used examples and non-examples. What did I just teach you? What did I just teach you? What's this? Horizontal. I taught you the word horizontal, showing you a non-example to an example. Okay? So when you are trying to teach in differentiated instruction, I highly recommend that you use conceptual teaching, because if you're going to show students what it is, you also should show them what it is not. Powerful strategy. Use that strategy in science, use it in math, especially trying to explain these very, very big concepts. But that's called conceptual teaching. The next piece is strategy number 9, one of my other favorites. It's called non-linguistic representation. It's a big fancy word. It actually means graphic organizers. How many of you use a graphic organizer? Graphic organizers are great because what? It's a pictorial representation of information. You can just get that information in a snapshot. Okay? Here's what the psychologist says. And Pavio says that many psychologists adhere to what has been called dual coding theory. Dual coding theory postulates that knowledge is stored in 2 forms. One is linguistic and the other is an imagery form. But when you put those 2 together, it's a potent combination to help in long-term memory and also for retrieval of information from your long-term memory. So it's a great strategy called graphic organizers. Let me show you an example of a graphic organizer. This is an example of a graphic organizer, and you can find tons of this stuff out there in Barnes & Noble, different bookstores that have books on graphic organizers. So you could do a chain, you could do a mind map. Here's another one, a spider map, a web, explaining these concepts. Okay, it also ties into conceptual teaching when you think of glib. Here is another great example showing money and all of its relationships. And if you don't have those software programs to support this, you can just do something as simple as blocks and showing relationships. Here's an example of one of my students doing something with a graphic organizer.